Hey, this is Malachi Church First Estate. You know, one of the 10 commandments is, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, blah, blah, blah. I'll put it in the link here. Now, one of the businesses that I do is in construction. I've been working with my hands almost all my life, from building homes to building boats, I was a pipe fitter, a ship fitter, building airplanes, working for Boeing, retiring from tooling, and was with a tooling immediate response team and AOG. If you know Boeing, you know what I just said was it's kind of high up in the scale. Not very many people get those kind of jobs, but I did because I was good at what I did. But I don't do videos on construction stuff, even though there are a lot of guys that tell me you should do videos on that, especially on my some of my wine cellars and some of my high-end stuff that I've done. And I don't do it, and I don't do basic ones either. And that is because it kind of what happened today, and I had to get really pissy with somebody, and them trying to come back and say something that I did, I don't know, almost 2 years ago now. I did wrong. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And I heard this from another person, so they never had the cojones to call me, even though they could have just called me and we'd have fixed whatever. I think what they did is what I had to do, or have to do with this other person, is I need to send them the outline of the estimate. And in that estimate, it said to them that you need to do A, B, and C, right? So you give them an option. Okay, here's what you can do to kind of keep it from maybe happening again, but no guarantees, and it costs this much. Like it was, I think, $3,500, which was a very cheap deal. It was too cheap, even at that, even what I did. Because it was the structure thing. And I've been in construction for a long time. So anyways, since I was very young, and I'm 50 now, so about 35 years. So 2 years go by, and the issue that they had prior happens again. Well, they don't call me to fix it. They tell somebody else that I screwed up. And I just got pissed. Because in my original estimate, like I said, I gave them 3 options, and they chose the lesser of the options. The other option was, I told them, because it was a deck, it was lots of structure stuff, I said, this will probably fix it, but I said, I think your biggest issue with your house is your drainage and your soil makeup, meaning it's a lot of clay, right? So everything's sinking. There's not a lot of hard base in particular under that house. So I told them this, but they wanted the $3,500 fix. I said, okay. It was far better than what was there when the house was built, because when the house was built, it was just put on post and, concrete things. So I'll show you a picture. So what I did is what I'll show you in this picture. I put in big concrete forms that went down about 4 feet underground and came up about another 2 feet. I did those in 3 different sections, and I put in big beams. However, it still sank. It's a big deck. I told them it probably would, but anyways. So the thing is that I was upset with the guy because I told him, I said, look, I don't know why you're telling me that I do bad work when if you would have seen, or you allowed somebody else to do that, or if you've ever even told anybody about this, I said, I would be going to be really pissed at you because you don't know what I told them in the beginning. And that's why I don't do videos on my jobs, because I can walk into a job and I can see mistakes all over the place. I'm like, attention to detail that's the only reason why I made it into Russia. I mean, with my coffee company, I'm the only person to ever take his coffee to Russia. Of course, this is when I did the coffee with Woodstock and Summer of Love and all that stuff. But I was the only guy to take my coffee into Russia. And from that, do Deadliest Brew. And from that, do a lot of other things that I'm slowly rearranging my office here. So, like all behind me are all about basically my things that I did in coffee. So, but the thing is, I don't pick apart people's stuff because I don't know what the original conversation was. I've done tile work with people that go, I say, hey, you got to replace your whole subfloor. Oh, I can't afford that. Well, then I don't really want to do it. Well, can you do it, please? I said, well, I can do it, but there's no guarantee. You have to do these things in a certain order to make it work. I'll post a couple pictures of showers that I built. Okay, it's like you have to do things a certain way in order for a certain result to happen. And when you try to cheat out that way, or you're a person that says, oh, I can't afford it, and then unfortunately, my problem is I'm actually a pretty nice guy. I like to help people. I want to see people achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve. So I try to work with people as much as possible. I always do. And that's always the downfall of everything that I do. Now, when I do jobs like doing the wine cellars and a few other jobs that I do here and there with high-end clients that go, no, Glenn, I want the best. My name's Glenn. They go, I want the best. I want it to be perfect. Great. I love it. I'll make it perfect for you and it'll be great. And you know what? Those are the people that always tell other people. Those are the people that are always, they're the ones that keep me busy. These other people I have to deal with occasionally are friends of friends, that kind of thing, which I'm almost at the point where I'm not going to do any business with friends of friends because I don't like to hear lies being told, because nobody knows the whole truth, but still they yak. So let me say how this ties in biblically, because I want to make this a biblical thing. I want to show how it ties in possibly with biblical stuff. So for thousands of years, God did not have any laws. He didn't have the Ten Commandments. It was only because of Moses. And the reason why the Ten Commandments were really created, in my opinion, were because the children of Israel put themselves into such a position after they found this great freedom from Joseph, who brought them into Egypt as he was second to Pharaoh, actually had more power than Pharaoh. And he gave them that wonderful place to live, the wonderful land, all these things. They had the fruit, they had everything. Right? God provided everything for them. And then over a course of, 430 years, they got trapped into slavery because they weren't living by the oral laws anymore. Meaning, Joseph obviously, and many others, had told them, don't bear false witness against thy neighbor. Don't steal stuff. Don't do this. Don't do that. Be an honest person, that kind of stuff. Love God with all your heart. All that kind of stuff. Then they get a baptism of Moses. Now I'm going to go over this. I got an in-depth study of the reason why I talk about baptism. My most in-depth study I've ever done. Okay. So then he brings Moses, and so he frees them. From the grasp of Pharaoh. And they forget. They even forget how, God let them out just to the water's edge, parted the water, took them in, and they had food from the angels, manna. They won the battle with the Amaleks. Come on. There's so many things that God showed his people just by showing. Instead of talking about it, many people talk. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. That's why I don't do that in construction. Everybody who calls me, almost everybody who calls me, is always calling me, telling me they want something fixed because they think somebody else didn't do it right. And when I don't go in there and go, well, yeah, he screwed up here big time. Yeah, he screwed up there big time. That guy did this. And boy, I ask him, I says, well, okay, what was the reasoning behind that he did this? Where's your estimate that he gave you? Where's the write-up? These are questions I ask because sometimes people ask us kind of guys to put lipstick on a pig. Well, I don't do that anymore, you know. And the jobs that I'm talking about are years old almost. One's almost a year old. It was a tile job, and that was for a friend of the family, which is the worst thing to ever do. I'll never do that again. Never. Go hire this guy, or you got to pay me 100% full what I charge. And then if I feel kind enough at the end, if the Lord leads me, I will then either give you your money back or give you a deal or whatever. But until that time, I got to do 100% exactly what I would do with anybody else, because I have a license, I got a bond, I got insurance. I can't deal with that crap. But here's the thing that I'm saying. Because man seems to forget these things. Man seems to forget the whole story. And they allow themselves to continue to bear false witness because they hear somebody tell a half a story. It's like, I was really pissed off at my buddy. I'm fucking yelling at him. I know people, I don't cuss that much, very little. But this really ticked me off because I told him, I said, this is bearing false witness. This is not how I am, and this is not what I said I was going to do. And they had options, and they took the cheap route, and now they're regretting that they took the cheap route, and they're too embarrassed to call me back up and say, hey, remember when you told us that it would really cost about $15,000 to fix this problem? And you said, but you can kind of Band-Aid it for about $3 to $5 grand, and we chose the Band-Aid. Oh, big mistake. We should have listened to you. We should have did the other one, right? That's why they don't call me. That's why they talk to somebody else. But the reason why God also had to make the Ten Commandments and so many of these other laws that were inflicted on the children of Israel is because they forgot what God did for them. They just forgot. So he says, okay, if you're going to forget about what I've done for you, you know, it's like doing construction. They forget that I told them A, B, and C sometimes. I'm very good with what I tell people. I say, you want A, B, C. Now I write everything down. But I used to try to have conversations with people. And then how quickly they forget. They forget when it's not beneficial to them. So you know what? After a while, God said this, okay? If you're going to forget me because it's not convenient for you, or the only time that you're going to call out my name is when it's inconvenient in your life and you need salvation, that's why God said, okay, fine, I'm going to write it down and you're going to live by it. There you go. It's written down. And even when Moses came down with the 10, they were still already 40 days later, already going into pagan lifestyle, selling off all their gold to make these stupid gods and things like this, stuff that they still do today. Just within 40 days. Remember, this is after being freed after 430 years. This is after being parting the waters. This is after all these things. Moses is gone for 40 days. He comes down with God's 10 commandments, and they're already selling off the soul. They're already blaspheming his name, and they're already bearing false witness to the God who created them and made promises to them. And they're already saying in their hearts, you're not going to do it. Oh, well, you know, yeah, he did lead us out of Egypt, but look at where he brought us to. I mean, you know, come on. And then then here's another thing. You know why they need another 630 some laws or whatever it is, which aren't my problem. All right. They're the only reason why those laws had to be even in place is because the fact, once again, people forget. Once again, they start bearing false witness. And that's part of lying. You know, it doesn't say in the Ten Commandments, "Thou shalt not lie," but it does tell you not to bear false witness, and that's the same thing. Anyways, I'm sorry I'm rambling on. I'm really today was a day I was really pissed off. You know. It's like, but I knew it, you know, God warned me. God told me, he didn't warn me, but he told me, hey, just letting you know. And I know the two jobs, the other job with the deck, I don't know. I think they were embarrassed because they knew I told them it would cost 15 grand and they took the shorter route. But these other two, It just ticks me off to no end. But I will say, when I was doing those jobs, I felt a spirit, I felt God telling me, hey, I'm just going to forewarn you here. These people are not going to like anything that you do. And you know what? Here's another thing I'll tell you with these two people, right? These two people are atheists, both of them. So I guess it's the way it is, huh? I've done a lot of work with people that are Muslim. I have a problem with them. They seem to always pay, but they're very cheap. And they're always trying to cheap you out of stuff, right? And I can tell you this, when I was in my music, since I'm blabbing right now, when I had my recording studio, when I was first starting out, I used to have people come to me going, you just need to start recording Christian bands. And I said, you know what? I hate to tell you this, but they're the worst ones. Because they're the ones that want a deal. And this, I guess this goes to all my life. Every time I try to work a deal with somebody, they always bitch and moan. It's like God, hey, okay, people, let me give you a deal. I'll help you out. Let me do this, I'll help you out. Let me give you my son, and let me, put him on the earth to for you. Let me do everything I can for you. People don't give a crap. But here's the thing, and here's another thing too. When I do jobs for people, more high-end work, and with just high-end work, I hate to say it, and people know that, okay, you want, I need a kitchen done, Glenn. How much is it going to cost? Well, that's going to cost about 15 and up, 15,000 and up. And they go, okay, that's what our budget was. And I go, fine. And they say, but we have a budget of 20. Okay, if we find anything that has issues, then we'll be within the budget. We won't go over budget. We'll be fine. But if somebody comes to me and says, and I'm in Washington State, so, the prices may vary, okay? So if somebody else comes to me and says, I want a new kitchen, Glenn. I've seen some of the work you've done. I really like it, and I want you to make a kitchen for me. I say, okay, what's your budget? Well, I only have $8,000 or $7,000. Ain't going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. Or I have 10,000. Then I'm like, I don't know. I said, I can do some things, but then not everything will be done. And then that's where I make my mistake. I don't do this anymore, those, but I always learn from my mistakes. That's one thing that I can say about me. I always learn from my mistakes, not to deal with certain people or certain things. Anyway, enough yapping. The coffee shop is coming along. Like I say, you can come on down. And then I have the show don't tell boxes, I call them, right? And it has everything that I sometimes say on this channel that people go, oh, you're so full of crap, right? Show, don't tell. Real stuff, real pictures, real autographs, real signatures, real this. And now I've told people I have gold albums too. So real gold album, real, I'm really getting to the point where I'm just doing, this is real stuff, okay? Real. That was my real car, my real photo, that's a real photograph, stuff like that. Because it's just, I guess my biggest pet peeve is freaking people that bear false witness. I just don't like it. I can't stand it. I hate it when people aren't honest. I just don't like it. So anyways, it should be done here pretty soon. I got another bass guitar I got to hang up. I don't know if you guys are into bass guitars. That's another one. That's an old Epiphone. Everybody and their brothers wanted to buy that. I've got everything for it. I got to redo it and refix it. Anyways, if you're into bass guitars, you know about that. And I think I'm going to hang up. A few of my other guitars in here. Yeah, I need. I need one that goes there. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 15 guitars. I don't have enough space, but I'll work on it. We'll get that rolling. Anyways, God bless. People, come on down. Just call first. Make sure I'm here, and we can chat, have some coffee, talk about life, talk about the power of God, and how great He is, and how because of what He did for us, that we are where we are. And I'll get into this here pretty soon, but if you're here this long, it's 22 minutes. This is why I say baptize people, right? Genesis 1:2, Genesis 1:6, the firmament. These are all forms of baptism. 1:2, where the waters cover the earth, right? 1:6 is when He created a firmament. That was the baptism of everything that was in the earth. Then the waters gathered together at 1:9. Then the first forms of life are at 1:20. You get what I'm saying? Right? Genesis 2:7. The garden was a form of a womb, because remember, it was protected. It was God's personal garden. It wasn't the one that created all the other people on the sixth day, but it was His own little garden, and it was protected by angels. You got 2:22, the birth into this world, right? And being the birth of a child per se, or even the birth of Adam and things like that. And that's a form of baptism. Anyways, I'm going through the whole thing. I can't remember everything off the top of my head. That's why I wrote it down, and that's why I have this big, beautiful old Bible here. Because it's got big letters, and I'm getting old and I can't see. Anyways, hug your kids, call your parents, go see your neighbor, repent and be baptized. Water's Edge is next. Listen to it. If you like my music, support. I really appreciate it. And here in a couple days, I should have everything ready to go. And I'm going to have maybe a grand opening on Sunday. I know for some of you say don't work, but here's the thing. Jesus would preach to people on Sunday. And the Pharisees tried to get Him on that. You might want to look that up. It's one of the reasons why they had Him killed. It's because He was working on the Sabbath. Anyways, we will talk at y'all later. Have a good one. Malachi signing out. Again, hug your kids, call your parents, go see your neighbor, repent and be baptized. Goodbye.